Alright. Some historic to start our arena segment today. Bant, Arcades, Bant, Defenders, whatever you want to call it. Arcades, the strategist here, as well as High Alert. Allow your creatures to attack as though they didn't have Defender, and allows your creatures to assign combat damage with their toughness rather than their attack. Arcades even goes one step further and lets you draw cards when creature with Defender enter the battlefield under your control. We got Riptide Turtle, Resolute Watchdog, Wall of Runes, some Vines, some Caretakers, and then a few copies of Tetsuko here to make our things unblockable. So we've also got some tower defenses here as a huge blowout, and then some dive downs here as well. Let's go ahead and jump on into a league with this one and see how it goes. I think you just want Courser to... I think you want Courser to be able to block early. Like, Uro doesn't block until very late. Like, it gains you 3 life early and replaces itself, but it doesn't impact the board until a much later turn. Warblazer, thanks for the 17 months. Welcome back. For people asking about Huatli, one, I don't think we need a 9th effect that lets our things assign damage equal to their toughness. And 2, Huatli does not, that seems great. Huatli does not, this is like one of our nut draws. We go Caretaker on 1, into Tetsuko, Watchdog on 2, into High Alert, Attack for 9, Unblockable on 3. Just really, really strong curve here for us. Or do they have an opt here or an unsummon? They keep looking at my creatures. They could just be reading them because our creatures aren't particularly popular. So probably opt, but could be unsummon. Spectral Sailor too, sure. Counterspell matchup's probably gonna be pretty hard for us. Like, our cards don't do a lot if High Alert doesn't resolve. So they need Spell Piercer Negate here. Lookout's dispersal, yep, that'll do. Need to draw another copy of that effect immediately here. We're basically dead. Yeah, Spell Pierce is legal. Doesn't... I don't even think it's about playable cards. Doesn't Anthology 2 just have more cards in it? Isn't that the justification for the price increase? The Anthology 2 has 25 cards versus 20, right? I believe they increased the price proportionally to the increased number of cards total in it. I didn't do the math, but at a glance, I think that's what they did. If anybody's done the math and wants to calculate that out, feel free to share in chat. Thanks for the 4 months, Joe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the first anthology was only 20 cards, if I recall correctly. Yep, the way it's looking like Ranked Historic is going to work is Ranked Historic will leave when a new standard set drops, when a new set drops, and then it will come back when the Historic Anthology comes. Alright, so I'm going to cut Tower Defense and dive down because they don't really interact with our stuff here. We're going to bring in Teferi, obviously. I think we bring in Seal Away. Slaughter the Strong's probably actually not good enough here. I think I'd rather just have the spot removal. Let's give this a go. How glad he arises, something like that. Struminator, thanks for the 13 months. Welcome back. I appreciate that. I agree, Navier. Of all the things to complain about regarding WotC, I think their setup regarding the historic ladder is like mostly reasonable. Especially when you count the fact that like we get to play historic constructed events and like 1,000 gold is like pretty negligible. Especially when like any reasonable player could 2-2 a lot of them. Good morning, Kiddix. I'm actually just gonna bottom this. I think I just want to aggressively look for more high alerts and more Arcades because my first one's not likely to resolve, so I just want to like have the highest chance of having another. Yeah, 2-2 gets you your gold back plus some wild cards or plus some random card rewards. Well, that's exciting. Get to lead on that now. Yeah, I agree, Jared. Plenty of votes to cast. Get out and vote for Bernie. Message two of your friends and vote for to tell them to vote for Bernie. It's not over. Anthology 2 is 17% more expensive than Anthology 1 and has 25% more cards. Perfect. Look at that. Look at the math. Yay, math. I'm gonna block this to deny them drawing a card. I'm gonna shock this in and pass. Just plan to double seal away this next turn. Do I think her endorsement before Tuesday would make a difference? I don't think it matters whether or not her endorsement would have made a difference. I think her endorsing Sanders would have been the right thing to do, and they should have done it she should have done it because it was the right thing to do. There's too many people that are looking at this and playing expected value games with people's lives and policies that really matter, and maybe rather than focusing on whether or not it's the winning move, we should want candidates that ask themselves, hey, is this the right thing to do? And in my opinion, that's the problem with people like Warren and people who claim to be progressives. If you're not being progressive because it's the right thing to do, you're doing it for political maneuvering. You're doing it for the wrong reasons. I think there's too many people that approach it like a game, and it's not Magic the Gathering. Yeah, like I said when we started, I think this matchup's pretty impossible for us. Our deck doesn't have a lot of interaction. We have a couple key cards we're looking to resolve. We're like a pseudo combo deck in a way. Okie-doke. Survey says, scry me a river, baby. Probably standard Moldylocks. We'll see what Historic does after we get the updates tomorrow, though. This is probably mostly over, huh? Feels dead, man. Today might be a shorter stream. If we get beat up with this deck twice, I'm just gonna go to the next. I'm just gonna go to standard. Not feeling particularly well in terms of health at the moment. And after last night and dealing with shitty people, this Slaughter the Strong will be good here at least. Unblockable's good. Probably don't really need dive downs because I don't expect them to have a ton of removal. Usually I pick whatever 2 primary colors are in a deck. So like 3-color decks generally aren't evenly split between 3 colors. So I pick the 2 that are most represented. I don't know. I might not play the last standard today. I at least want to play some Red Black Titan Gun 3 because I want to just get a little bit more repetitions with it before Saturday. It's going to be a low-key day overall, though. So I need a land, but this would make my things unblockable. it's whatever. I'm just pretty unlikely to ever care about an election in the United States ever again. I feel like is likely after this cycle. I feel like Bernie had the best chance to help the most people, and a lot of the people who were very likely to be most helped by his policies compared to Joe decided they didn't want him. And if people don't want to fight for themselves, I'd kind of just like don't understand why I should try and fight for them. It's about where I'm at. I have no idea, Corvmox. Probably Grohl right now. That's a lie. It's probably, I think Grohl's probably the best historic deck at the moment. But that'll change Tuesday when we get new cards, most likely. Grohl's not really getting anthology help. I don't know. I mean, I'm in a very good place in life personally, and I decided to try and get invested in this election cycle and try and do something to try and fight for people who don't have as much as I do, and it doesn't seem like that really matters or helps, so I'm like very uninclined to ever do it again. It's just very, very sad. I think I'm just passing here at this point. Maybe we'll attack with a 3/3. No, I'm not gonna show up and vote for Donald Trump. I'm not an idiot. I don't hate people. But it's just like, thanks for the piled bits, Frigley. I appreciate it. Like, I'm not evil. I'm not gonna vote for Donald Trump. But like, I'm also like not gonna get super invested again. Because it's a lot of energy for a lot of disappointment. Thanks, Frigley. I appreciate it. Enjoy your whales. So I think we just cash in Slaughter the Strong next turn. So Slaughter the Strong, each player chooses creatures with a total of 4 power and sacrifices the rest. So my opponent will get to keep 2 things, and we'll get to keep everything. Yeah. The types of people that voted for Biden, just it sounds so jaded to say, but it's just the cold hard truth. The types of people that tend to support Biden in large part aren't going to live long enough to see the detriments of his more moderate policies versus Bernie's more aggressive policies. And people my own age appear to be just so disenfranchised with the process as a whole that they just didn't show up and vote for themselves. I don't, this is all there is to it, basically. So if I attack with all of these, this is only bigger if they have 25 or more life. So if they block a 3/3, I get to still kill this because they're going to take 9/12 down to 20. So they might trade with a 4/4 as opposed to trading with a 3/3 here. But just think about it, chat. If I decide not to care, I'll get all those sweet, sweet Republican viewers who are never going to subscribe to me anyways. I mean, I actually can't do anything at my local level, Hacksaw, because my district is incredibly gerrymandered, and I live in the cornfields that are incredibly Republican. So, at my local level, I actually really can't do anything. Would not accomplish anything trying to do things and talking about what I believe in and what's right at the local level where I live now. If you look at the district I live in, it's literally gerrymandered around the two major cities. They block here, they go to 9, they die. They block here, they go to 9, they die. Most states have mandatory time off for voting, also early voting. Yeah, the problem with having mandatory time off is it's not mandatory paid time off, and a lot of young people are living paycheck to paycheck, and they can't afford to take a couple of unpaid hours off of work to go vote. How does fighting and arcadas work? I don't know offhand. Is he awarded combat damage? We'll take a look at him when we draw him here. Yes, it can also take more than a couple hours to vote sometimes. A form of voter suppression is making it difficult for people to vote. I don't know. Like, all other things aside, I guess I hope the scientists are wrong, because while Biden is gonna like get us back in the Paris climate agreements, if you like look at the groups that advocate for fighting climate change, Biden's climate plan is like it like has an F ranking compared to the other people that were in the primary. Like, it's not good. It's not if the scientists are correct, Biden's plans for climate change are not aggressive enough. The creature you control assigns combat damage. This does not impact fighting. This one, a creature you control assigns, these are both just combat damage, so not fighting. Yes, in places where you don't have to wait to vote, that's because they want you to vote. In places where you do have to wait to vote, it's because they don't want you to vote. Historic staple Riptide Turtle here. Alright, we got 8 power in play at least. We got that going for us. Defense. Defense. if you get a little bit informed about waiting to vote in the United States, it's very easy to take note that the places in which people have to wait to vote on average tend to be places where young people and minorities are more likely to be voting. People who are lower income are more likely to be voting. It's intentional to discourage people from specific demographics to vote. These are one-sided, right? Yeah, these Daxos doesn't get a boost. I think if they offer this Pride Mate, I double block it, right? Like, easy peasy. They're letting me trade my 5/5 for their 6/6, essentially. I love his animation. It's so good. The Mythic Dragons and Angels in this game, the Mythic Dragon, Angels, and Demons have really great enters play effects. I really hope we at least like, and this is like super optimistic. I really hope we get to a place in reality where like, even if the Republicans are still evil, greedy, bigoted corporations, maybe they'll at least acknowledge climate at some point, because like that's something that's going to impact them too. Vomit. I still have high alert at least, but losing Arcadis means my defenders don't draw cards anymore, which sucks. Tetsuko. That's probably fine. So this has to be 30 or more. So they're going up to 35. This puts them to 36, but I get to hit them for 7, down to 29. So if they have a creature next turn, which is pretty likely, this will still be huge. If we can get out of this without them having a creature. Yep. As archetype's not good enough. It's too slow, it's too clunky. As we saw in the, like, so I feel like we got, like, we only played 2 matches, but we got to highlight, like, the 2 primary issues with a deck like this. The first is that, like, against the blue disruptive deck, we have 2 very specific key cards that if they don't get into play, the rest of our deck effectively does nothing. And playing against someone who has disruption means those things don't get into play. And then the flip side of that also on the other half is against a less interactive deck, we didn't have a high enough density, or not even high enough density. Against the less interactive deck, our linear game plan just wasn't good enough, right? Like, the one game we won was on the back of Slaughter the Strong, And maybe that means if we want to play this, we need to be interactive. But as far as like everything goes here, I feel like just trying to race isn't good enough. When we had played this deck in the past, like back when it was standard legal, we had played a number of interactive cards and played Slaughter in the main, and like it wasn't trying to punk people out with things like tower defense. And maybe that's the more correct direction to go. Thanks for the biddies, Big Beanie Cap. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday wherever you're at in the world. All right, this one was really short. I'm not going to hit an ad roll. I'm just going to take me half a second to